Bing bong.
This is the Dan Simpson Show.
We do it because it's right.
I love the dialectic.
His testicles became swollen.
Base.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Please clap.
Who's this man? This man in the hat. I'm gonna ruin this.
You're a stupid baby, Dan. Not me.
Yes. Yes. Welcome to Leftist and Chill with Dan Simpson. I'm your host, Dan Simpson. Today, we're going to be bringing on Allan Max Axelrod, small city organizer and campaign lead of No Ameren Shutoffs. Let's bring on Allan. Please clap.
Please clap.
Yeah. Hey, Allan. How you doing?
Great. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking. Really excited to be with you. You notified me this morning that you helped to achieve $80 million in assistance to people who need it in our state. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's automatic assistance. They don't even need to apply for it.
They don't have to do anything, and it's just $80 million.
Yeah, because last year we saw what happened when utility shutoffs resumed. We started to have cases increase yet again.
Yep.
And there was a very similar program last year, and it was very effective. It was the lowest caseloads that we ever had last summer, and that was during the tenure of this subsidy program. So we brought it back, and it was allegedly a one-time program.
Now, we've had you on a couple different times, Allan, to talk about this, and it's just really nice to have you back and to have you update us on the whole thing. I think we had you on maybe as like a year ago. We chatted about this. We've been talking about this for a while, and it's we talk about this because well, I guess people are mad. People are mad that it's getting harder and harder to like live and pay all of their bills. I don't know if you've seen this clip, Allan. I wanted to watch this with you. Check it out. Have you seen this guy?
Yep, even my non-political family members have sent me that.
Why are they sending this to you?
Because they live in Florida.
Can we do better?
Oh, this is in Florida?
There's always things that
Yep.
Okay, so I'll mute that, but that's a guy getting up, yelling at the mayor like you don't care about people and their utility bills. They're shutting off utility and they're having to just send them their last dollars, right? This is pretty fucked up. So you're sort of doing similar work. You're not on you're not one of the commissioners or whatever's going on there, but the deal is you work with No Ameren Shutoffs, this incredible organization, and because of this group and the work that you've done, again, if I could pull this up again, you've helped to save homeowner just people in our state $195 million in total. That's incredible. Can I get? Do you have any of that money? Can I get some of that? I'm broke.
Nah, I'm not seeing a cent of that. And
Okay.
We're a $0 budget, shoestring coalition of over 50 organizations across the state. So It's not even incorporated. This is literally what a lot of anarchists would even say is a near structuralist formation, although we could do a whole lot better. But this was formed during the July 2020 racial justice uprisings and everything, where no one had any bandwidth. And we just started making conditions for joining this effort, which we unified with a hashtag, the hashtag No Ameren Shutoffs. Ameren's the name of a utility in Central Illinois.
Yeah.
And this isn't any sort of nonprofit endeavor. I don't get a salary. No one is paid by us. We don't receive money from anybody. And all the victories that we've had have been to help marginalized and working class Illinoisans.
Okay. You could have just said, no, I don't have any money. Jeez. Allan, really stoked to continue talking to you about this. So the question becomes, how did you get all of these organizations on your side? Like, how does one do this? How we had a question in chat. How would we do this in their own home state? What would you do? What advice do you have? Like, what are we going to do, Allan?
Well, so the first thing is that you really have to understand how low people's bandwidth already is.
Yeah.
How do you make a sustainable effort that basically utilizes the bare minimum for participation, but where you have the means to call for substantive actions when the conditions merit it? Then you have to work on your communication of the issue and how to get people to actually care about this. Because, I didn't know anything about utilities before the pandemic, really. And this has been a trial by fire the entire way. So you have to have people willing to take point on front loading a lot of that cognitive learning labor so that they actually know then what to recommend to folks and what not to. We've been compared to ACT UP a lot of times now. And it wasn't until I actually listened to an interview about ACT UP that I was like, that's not entirely wrong. It feels a little presumptuous to have that connection more firmly, but they basically said, we won't say no to damn near anything. And that's very much true for no Ameren shutoffs. We have been doing every kind of nonviolent organizing we can. We've passed resolutions in city council, through Democratic parties, through county boards. We've disrupted Governor Pritzker's press conferences in Bloomington Normal and Champaign-Urbana and Decatur, Belleville, Macomb, Pembroke Township, Edwardsville. And I'm sure I missed one of those locations in there. We FOIA'd state government filings in order to drive a wedge between what the government wasn't saying and what the facts actually were. All of those things combined is how we made each and every one of those moratoria happen and all $195 million to come into existence. The state didn't want to do this. We had to force them.
So you're the kind of guy that the mayor, I'm sure the mayor of your town, you're down in Champaign, I think, and also the governor knows you. Like, they probably know your name.
Yeah, well, not only that, the governor stared at me so much at his last press conference in Champaign that the press noticed, and we talked about it afterwards. It was absurd. Now, granted, I occupied his office as part of the Lift the Ban Coalition's action in 2019, so maybe because his security took my photo back then, they might have some recognition of me. But I was masked up. I was wearing a beanie. All they could see was my glasses and my nose, really. Am I that noticeable just on that? I don't know. So it was just, it's just really bizarre. Governor Pritzker has even tried to talk down at some of our protesters, for example, when he was disrupted in Springfield in a grocery store. And he basically showed he knew exactly who we were. He knew that we weren't going to be satisfied with whatever was going on. But what he didn't know was that he was saying that to a protester who had a utility shutoff notice. So each and every time this guy lashes out, we're ready. And
you set the trap.
Well, it's not really even a trap. He didn't have to be a dick. It's just because he was like that, then we're like, oh, you really shouldn't have done that, pal. Because at that point, he, went ahead and did that. We pointed it out on Twitter. Comrades on Twitter helped to boost us. And then what we ended up doing was the next day I went to his press conference. His security was staring at me. He was staring at me. President Killeen of the University of Illinois had to get his attention so that he would look at him as opposed to staring at me. And in that confine, we were well behaved. We were just sitting there minding our own business with a couple of press releases. And we had one person schmooze with the press. I walked up to Governor Pritzker's security and said, we were well behaved today, give him this. And the press release was all about how we had gotten a Republican to submit a resolution in a Democratic majority county board where the Democrats were unanimously in support of this thing. to call on Governor Pritzker to act, that cited that the utility subsidy program, low-income home energy assistance program, wasn't reaching enough people, and there were an alarming rate of applications being denied despite legislation that was supposed to open it up. So each and every turn, we were basically striking at the state in a way that they could not figure out how to strike back. And he should have learned from Ameren, Illinois. Their PR learned long ago to just give up. They tried to even lie about the weather once. They were so desperate. And we were just like, here's the weather. Because if you are below freezing, you can't shut off people's power. And yeah, they tried saying, oh, it's below freezing. We can't do anything like that. And we're like, interesting. The low is 40.
Oh, my gosh. What could go wrong when the profit motive and utilities mix, right, Allan?
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, it's like, again, we covered his financial conflicts of interest in this whole thing. He's not just some benevolent billionaire who's at the head of our government. He got somewhere about 24% of his inherited net worth at the time from a corporation that owns one of the rail lines that ships coal to the power plants, owns one of the power utilities outright, which, by the way, had shut people off this winter, which is what we were protesting at the Springfield grocery store in the first place. Like, so he's not a benevolent actor in any of this, and he's frustrated that we know and that we educate people and that we pass resolutions on this saying, like, look, this could all just be a big misunderstanding. Let's just call him in and pass a resolution. And so we've passed 18 of those across 6 counties. And it's not like we have, because a lot of people will gatekeep movements. They'll say, you need to have enough votes to get stuff done. No, the best I've ever done in an election that I was supporting is like 23% to 26% of the vote. What you need to do is you need to be able to look at what are the pressurable margins and when you can press the state against those margins. And that's exactly what we've done. For example, one of the things that I did, people don't know this. Governor Pritzker had, up until recently, and or still has, a gubernatorial primary opponent. Did you know that?
No, a dumb?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No,
She's a nurse.
She's a nurse.
She's a nurse, and we sent her a copy of the press release.
Hello, nurse.
I wonder if that had something to do with Governor Pritzker saying, you know what, maybe we should nip this in the bud as opposed to seeing where else he'll send a press release to.
Wow. Okay. No, I did not know someone was running against Pritzker. But enough of a serious threat that he's doing something, I guess. Yeah.
Well, it's about building principled liability. I don't know that he considers the candidate a threat, seeing that he's self-funding his own campaign in margins that she'd be hard-pressed to catch up on. Yeah. But we're a non-electoral coalition, to be clear. We're pressuring issues. We're not endorsing candidates. But if candidates are willing to endorse issues, that's fine. We've gotten 4 congressional candidates even to endorse our issues to sponsor Rashida Tlaib's Maintaining Access to Essential Services Act of 2021 if they're elected. So Cal for Congress, for example, Jason Cal is a comrade out in Washington who has basically been helping us through the entirety of the run of No Ameren Shutoffs so far. So the moment that we had this, he was like, Rashida Tlaib, No Ameren Shutoffs? Yes. Yeah. And just immediately signed. But we're reaching out to more congressional candidates each week to see who else is going to be signing on. And Letitia Wallace, for example, is a former lieutenant governor candidate. You know who she ran with?
No.
Biss, the former primary candidate of Governor Pritzker.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that it takes is you just say, oh, well, you're stagnating us on this front. Well, we'll just open up so many other fronts that you have no idea how to stop us. And that's basically what's happened.
Okay. Incredible stuff. What else do we need to know? I just really, I'm enjoying this really quick update here. Is there anything else that we need to know about No Ameren Shutoffs maybe moving forward? I don't know. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have bought ourselves time until the end of July when this utility subsidy program goes away. Okay. During that time, we are likely to see this increase in COVID start to decline. And in that time, we need Congress to act. And so for folks that are looking to get involved that are in other states, this is where you come in. The Maintaining Access to Essential Services Act of 2021. Yes, I know it's 2022. It's a dumb name, but people were trying their best, right? It's still actually in the legislature. It's still a bill that Congress people can sign on to and sponsor. AOC hasn't sponsored it, but she is a sponsor of a public utilities resolution that was actually proposed that Rashida Tlaib and others supported. And so if you have a Republican congressperson, especially, but a Democratic congressperson, or a candidate that you like, talk to them all. Ask for them, if they are a non-incumbent candidate, to sign our pledge. And if they are an incumbent, they don't get to sign our pledge. You know what they get to do? They get to sponsor this bill. And so that is what you can do to amplify power. So the folks that are looking at that Vox video from Florida, talk to your Congress people. You've got people who will listen if you talk to them enough. Talk to us about how we can strategize and see what local organizations are in your community, because it's a mess to sift through and find. How we started No Hammer Shutoffs was I literally just emailed every organization that I could think of, and people responded to it because it was conveyed in such dire terms. So, this municipal candidate or this municipal representative did a solid job of advocating. Well done to him. Is he willing to say the same thing to his congressional representative? Is he willing to say the same thing to the Senate? Because it is a really hard thing to speak truth to your allies. It is a lot harder to speak truth to your allies than truth to your political adversaries. And I'm not saying that what he did was easy, but there are things that are harder. And we need people to take this pandemic seriously, because what people don't talk about is our most recent pandemic spike had a similar death load. I shouldn't say rate. The rate was lower. A similar number of people died in our third wave of our most recent wave of COVID as our first wave of COVID. So you're telling me that we should expect this thing to be treated like it's over? Absolutely not. We need the Maintaining Access to Essential Services Act of 2021. And this isn't a pet project. Just to finish out, Congress has a Congressional Research Service. And in 2007, while Bush was president, they published a report called Pandemic Influenza, an Analysis of State Preparedness and Response Plans. They talked about all the different measures to help keep people safe. And one of them that they had in Table 8 was the continuity of essential services such as public utilities. That is borne out to be true 3 times in Illinois. It's borne out to be true in a lot of other communities, because it's not like COVID cares if it's colder. You know what happens? People lose their utilities and they move in with family. That is one of the biggest vectors of this disease, that and holidays and school reopening. And so this is one that we can actually address and stop, because apparently we can't get people to stop traveling.
You say Table 8?
Yep, Table 8.
Wow, we're pretty quick on this. Look at that. Quick on the draw over here.
Mm-hmm. And so if you read there, it's a little small for me, so I'm going to change the view real quick so I can see. Yeah. But it basically says the continuity of essential services such as public utilities in there.
Yeah.
And that is... It's not contestable. It's not an opinion from some activist. It's me going to the same source that Congress goes to, and they're saying, yeah, this is something that states should actually do. And you should keep it in place until the pandemic recedes. The pandemic has not receded. You judge the pandemic not on the intermittent levels. You judge it based on the spikes. When you have another surge, how bad was it or how tolerable was it? Our most recent one was pretty damn bad.
Mm-hmm. And quickly to touch on essential services, what happens when services that are essential are no longer there? Just ask yourself that question, chat. All right. Allan, really appreciated having you on today. Really quickly, before you go, wanted to let you give folks the big shout out. Where can people find you, and how can they support any of your projects, including No Amarin Shutoffs?
All right. So my name again is Allan Max Axelrod. I am the campaign lead of No Ameren Shutoffs. That's hashtag NOAMERENSHUTOFFS. Thank you. That is the campaign. You can find us via the hashtag. It's been reliable for nearly 2 years now. And you can find me at 213 Axelrod on Twitter. But one of the things that I would say to folks that are looking to get involved is to literally get involved. Find a local group that is willing to take this up. Leverage yourself as a potential member for that organization and join them if they're in solidarity with you. That is what we need more than attention to myself. But one last thing that I'll say is that you can look at organizations like the CPUSA, like the DSA, like the Socialist Alternative, like Party for Socialism and Liberation. Look at the member organizations of No Ameren Shutoffs. Those are the organizations that you should try to see if there are local versions of those, because they're already involved at some level, and it might be that they will be willing to be involved at your local level due to shared values. So take a look at No Ameren Shutoffs, take a look at your community, and reach out if you need help on figuring out targeting and strategy.
Awesome. Allan Max Axelrod, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much today for updating us on the incredible, important work that you're doing on behalf of Illinoisans. And as an Illinoisan myself, thank you very much for helping our working class comrades. Allan, that's going to do it for today. Love your face. Thanks for popping in.
Absolutely. Solidarity, Dan.
Solidarity. Peace. All right. That was a good one. Everyone liked that.
Awesome.
All right. See you next time, bud.
Yep. Catch you later, Dan. Gotta get going.
Thank you so much.